All right, so here we are today again with another edition of Sweet Talk. And my guest today here is who I would like to consider, and I'm certain a lot of men would reflect and also consider that is really one of the best guys that they could have in your corner. Unfairly, there are some women in his industry, but what he is a father, and that's basically based on what we'll be talking around today, being a man, a father in society. He is also an entrepreneur, a businessman by right, and he is also very well known in his industry. He is making a lot of moves, shaking it up. He's a barber, he has products. We have Choy Thomas here with us today.
That's nice.
Thank you for taking the time to come out. I mean, it's a conversation that we have been having in the background for a while based on what it is we're going to be speaking on today. And I know I'm saying that a lot because just trying to create some suspense. All right, so Choy Thomas. Who gave it in here? Just going backtracking a bit. That came from mom, dad?
I would say it come from my dad's side.
Your dad's
That is
side.
where most of the Chinese heritage comes from.
All right. So this will be an interesting talk. So we have some Chinese in that bloodline.
Yeah.
So again, as I said, just the backstory. And sorry if I'm moving up this jacket here a little bit shrivelly, all right? But we'll work with it. So were you an only child? Did you have siblings?
No, there's a lot of us actually. It's a big family.
Yeah.
Yeah, some kids on my mom's side, kids on my dad's side, and kids together. So it's like a real big blended family.
Blended.
Yeah.
So like holistically, like after a point, like when you came into the picture, was it that you were all under one roof at that point in time, or throughout?
When I came in, it was mostly my brother and myself under the roof. What happened, my mom died when I was like 3 years old, very young. And my dad is the one who did the upbringing of both of us, mostly. Yeah.
A tender age, all right, very interesting based on what we want to be speaking on here. So mom was out of the picture very early. So we're speaking on men, and yet still we want to get the perspective of the impact that a mother has to play along with society, and more so your dad, but at such a very early stage in your life, like growing up with that gap. What was it like reflecting it, especially like, so we have Mother's Day just passed.
Yeah.
Is it to the point now, well, you have kids and you have a wife that you celebrated that with, so like with your mom, not having her in the picture, emotion towards women all these years, like you think that could have contributed to anything?
I would say it would definitely play a part, to say to the extent where with my knowledge I would not know really.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I did not have, so I don't know what I really did miss. So growing up with my dad, thank God my dad tried to play the best of both roles, you know, but he did the best that he could. So it never had a time where I would see him probably feel as a father or taking care or being there for us. You know, the love was there, everything. He did the best he could. To say I would know the difference of having a mother or not having a mother, I can't really say. But I would know that it have some effect in me with emotion. It's like, you know, I may lack certain emotions that people might say.
And stick a point there, because like building up into the conversation now, being a parent, and like we were even speaking earlier before we started, like as having children of your own, you will speak to children, you tell them do certain stuff, but as we very well know, that kids tend to do what they see, and not what they hear.
Correct.
So the way you do your parenting now, and you're an amazing dad, I'm very curious of finding out, like, what was it that actually helped to contribute to you being the amazing dad that you are? But stick a point on it, we're getting back to that, because we have it structured here. So following up to that, I was going to ask you in regards to the careers job-wise. So mom wasn't in the picture
Right.
for you to actually see like the line of work. You're familiar what line of work she was in before she
No.
passed, or
No.
no? So like that, what line of work was that in?
In his, when I was growing up, coming up, he was into like shoemaking, and but I know he did barbering before. That was before I was born.
Okay.
But he used to cut my hair, you know. Never really liked that part of it, because you know he didn't want to give you the hair like the marks that
Yeah,
normally
yeah,
do.
yeah.
No, he want to keep the natural hairline.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that at all. But he was a barber first. But I wouldn't say that that was the play to why I wanted to go into barbering, you know.
Because mind you start off the talk here, and I mean, already in regards to your mom, you shared some stuff. Now your dad being, because I mean, we would have spoken. We have little odd talks here, there in the shop,
Yeah.
but to the actual career or line of work that he might have been in has never been discussed. So again, so just like you guys, we are finding out some stuff here about Mr. Choy. So this, in regards to the shoemaking, the barbering, was he doing that as a collaborative effort with someone, or he was
No,
doing
by
the
himself.
shoemaking?
By himself.
So he was entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Fascinating. All right. So even to that length, so you were still saying that even with you barbering right now, you don't think that it was inspired from
okay, I can say yes, the entrepreneurial part.
the entrepreneurial part.
But I was going more along the lines where it's not like I saw him as being a barber. He wasn't like a barber at those times. He cut my hair, cut my brother hair, but he wasn't like I saw him in the field of the barbering. But
Okay.
I know he used to do it before.
Before. All right,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
So just backtracking a little bit, because we came forward a bit. So you said that it was you and your brother, were you all were the closest amongst the siblings,
Yeah.
right? But in general, so like when you reflect back to Lee Choy as a toddler coming up into a youth, the persons that were around you, now being an adult reflecting back at your younger self, who do you think that you were as an impression on the persons around you?
I would have to say it's my dad, because where I grew up, we grew up like directly where we live in San Juan. It was like a block. We grew up on the block, you know, seeing everything that goes on a block. And I don't know if it was the combination of my dad, but something in me did not really want. I wanted more. I wanted more than just what I was seeing. And even though I grew up in the environment, there's a lot of things I never subscribed to. I mean,
Yeah.
thankful for the upbringing of my father, but it has something within yourself sometimes that sometimes maybe the teaching around would mold the mind, and you would now be like, hey, this ain't clicking for me. Even though everybody doing it, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to do that. I want more. I don't just want to do what I see in, you know, so something in me wanted more. And I had a phase where I would have gotten caught up in certain little things in the life, and I would have the mindset, the lazy mindset, you know, I was making excuses as to why it is, you know, by not wanting to even work. You know, when I look back on those days and the picture, the mindset that I had back then to now is amazing, you know. But I thank God that I stay away from that,
Yeah.
you know, and I started to move into a more positive crowd, and you know, yeah.
All right. So back then, reflecting based on what you would have shared, is that you find that you were more easily impressed, like you're more of a follower, I would say, like
Slightly, not too much, but yeah, some of the things. But it always had. I always know that I had these small phases where I went down that road, and I know that was not for me, because it ain't gonna take me where I want to be.
all right.
You know.
All right. So again, your dad, he shoemaker slash barber entrepreneur. Looking at him doing that, like your brother and yourself, when did you actually discover and like realize money was an actual tool?
I would say later on in life, you know, although the ambition was there, the direction of it was still more towards just job and making money. But then when it reached to the point of even starting the entrepreneurial journey, it still have a lot of things that if I knew earlier, would have catapulted me into where I want to be already.
Yeah.
You know, understanding of money, understanding of how business really operates.
And
you know?
we get into that part. So still, even at that young stage, I just want to see where that young entrepreneur Troy was. So like,
Yeah.
could you reflect back to when you would have made your first coin? When I say your first coin, like you might have actually had your first hustle, you would have gone out into the community and like offer your services, and reflecting on that, was it something that you offered to do initially, or that first coin that you would have made outside of your data allowances, was it something that you searched for or someone called upon you to do it? And what did you spend that first coin on?
So remember what I spent on that we had.
But it's fine, the first one.
But what I was into was just more like hustling in terms of always looking for something that I could buy and sell over. You're getting something at a good price and flipping it. So I was into selling a lot of things: clothes, sneakers, anything that anybody could do. At that time, I remember a guy was selling horses. I was trying to sell horses.
And they dabble into some real estate.
Real estate, landscape. It went into a lot of things. But what happened with me and that is that I realized I didn't have much direction. I was hustling, but without a purpose. So, you know, even when the money comes, it really wasn't directed for growth, you know. So I think later down, and even when I started to do barbering, what happened was I still wasn't taking it as serious as I should have.
And okay, so even to that note, so even before you reach the barbering, before you would have even started up, like you getting clients to come to you, you cut their hair, at that time, yes or no, you would have been partnering with someone in their shop. But before even taking on that barbering journey, like you did any jobs like at any companies before?
I did some I worked at a couple of casinos as a dealer. Before that, I did landscaping. Before that, I did cold storage work. I did interior. I worked with an interior designer before that as well. So like going back, you know. So I did a number of different jobs in different industries.
So, and in all of those industries, well, as you mentioned, the landscaping, you're working along with someone in the casino, well, that is a job. So, by doing so many jobs and moving around that much, was it that you were actually looking for some kind of financial stability, or was it that you were just a bad employee, you couldn't hold a job?
From way back then, I just realized that I didn't really like to work for people. You know, it wasn't like, it never really wasn't a job. It's just that that wasn't for me. You know, you always wanted, and this is why I came into the barbering first to begin. It wasn't because it was like a passion I always had or a dream I always had. I just reached to the point that day I said, listen, I fed up work for people and I want to do my own thing. And I wasn't doing anything at that time. And I said, you know what, I'm just looking for a course or something to do. And I saw a haircutting course.
Wow.
That time I didn't really have like barbering courses I could have now. And I went to do it and not thinking too much of the haircutting part in the course. And it was mainly how to cut women hair. And that is why I started cutting first. And at the end of the course, they gave me a little bit about barbering.
Oh, so the inspiration, based on what you're saying, what inspired you? So share that, okay, from that perspective. So while you were in that line of just doing your jobs, what inspired you now to make the leap? You was mentioning barbering.
Right.
So, what clicked? And as you mentioned, your dad was doing that at a point in time. So what actually gave that click to say like barbering could actually be that step for you?
To be honest, I really don't know. No. Like to say what, because I was to the point where I was frustrated. I just was fed up of working for people. I say hate to work like night shifts, and the casino was night shifts, a lot of night shifts. And I think I left the casino, and then I was home. I had nothing to do, and I was just going through the papers. I was looking at different things. Maybe it was in men, I didn't even know, because it had so many different courses that I could have done. But I went to the haircutting course. So I started that. My mannequin, I had my curlers, I had my products.
But
and, you know,
and even on that note, right? Because you shared, you were inspired to actually become your own boss, do your own stuff, because you didn't really like working for people. What was it about working for persons you didn't like? What is one thing?
I think not
give me two at least.
I think not having a certain level of control over my time. or you know.
All right. So it's about to get interesting. So go ahead. Your time was the second one.
And also, I would think, I don't know. I think I just wanted to dictate my own pace and just do my.
And the reason why I asked too, just in case he said something different, because I myself being a business owner, like initially when you think about entrepreneurship or being your own boss, you're going out and doing something, time, it plays a very big factor. And a lot of persons think when it comes to this whole entrepreneurial journey, when it is that they leave and they launch out to go and do their own thing, you're working at 8 to 4, 9 to 5, that is 8 hours, right? Respectively 24 hours in a day, that is just a third of the day work. But when you see go entrepreneur now, the hours are different.
So what I would say is that if I work at 8 to 4 for somebody, I will be watching the clock.
Yeah.
But I could probably work 8 to 12 in the night for myself and would not feel mentally
19 hours easy.
At all. So it's like, I don't ever have a day where I just get up in the morning and don't want to go to work. I might be a little tired, but I do ever have a heavy feeling of like, I don't go to work today. It don't ever happen. See, when you do it, you know you're doing it for yourself, and it's working towards your better, your greater. So doing that, for me, I could do that. I could do that, but I can't do it for somebody else. I can't invest into something for somebody else. I can't.
So, okay, even to that note, so you said barbering could potentially be that way out, so that you could leave the 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, so that you could manage your time, become your own boss, right? But still, even before you made that jump, before that actual beginning, that pinnacle of success, briefly you were at a shop for a while. And if I reflect back, the very first time that I would have met you, what stood out to me is just the way you carried yourself. Right. And at that time, you wasn't even at the level of success that you have now. Right. So you were in another shop, but the way you dressed, the way you approached me, and the way you spoke, it was different. So compared to other barbers, what gave you that mindset that if it is that I change up my look, I could attract a certain class of clients? So where that came from to catapult, for you to go to the next level?
And I would say I learned a lot along the way from different people too, or from other barbers. Because the guy who I used to work with before, he taught me some things too. He showed me things to do, things not to do, because you can learn both ways. And the barbers that we were around and the standard that they had, and I didn't always start there. I always started with the more bad end. But as along the way, as you grow, then you get to realize, the type of clientele you would like to attract. And what I learned is for barbering, and I guess maybe for business, the type of person you are, the type of clients you would attract. So if it is you, one of the barbers who like to smoke and drink and have beer bottles on the station on Friday, that's the kind of clientele you will attract.
And just to stick up in there, and why it's like we were just speaking is over, I would say, close to 6 or 7 years. I have him as my personal barber, and before that point, I remember moving around, having migrated back to Trinidad permanently 2014. Between 2014 to I think was 2017 is 20. Well, around that time span. But every time I went by a barber, how the crackheads talk about that first hag? The first cut, for some reason, it has be flawless, perfect. And then when you go back,
they get accustomed and they realize they have
the mark end up going off a little bit. So you say, all right, the first time you do it good, next time you go back, and then the next time you bring back your hairline, and then repetitively over and over you're going back, and these guys who are not to the level where you are. And I mean, they have customers that are loyal to them doing this thing in their heads. I mean, and as you say, they attract that type of client. So I was searching, and now here I am, come to find you full circle, and it's a totally different experience.
Thanks, man.
So that's fascinating. So now, being there at that shop that you were for a while, to make that another leap, we still have that pinnacle of success, you want to reach something. What inspired you? Well, you moved from the 9 to 5 into you actually have a skill where you have clients, build up a clientele, you're working under the roof of another shop. Now, you were just paying a rent for that station.
Yeah, correct.
So now having your rent to pay home, you have other living expenses. Procrastination wise, how difficult was it for you to like actually make that leap to say, I'm going to move out from under the roof of, well, would you consider that person as a mentor?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So how difficult was that transition, moving from doing that with him to your own space?
I would say sometimes I say children is a good motivator, because what made me push in that moment was my son was on the way.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, I say, expenses going to be more, everything will be more. I want to be able to offer this child more. And I said to myself, if I had to make this move, it had to be now or never before he comes. And I took that leap at that point to see if I could get everything up and running before he comes, so that at least I will have the foundation already laid out, so that, you know, things will be better. So I had was to make this leap. And even I had doubts, of course, because the area that I went to, it wasn't like on the main road like how I was before.
Yeah,
but I said to myself, you know, like, I've seen people do it before, you know. So I said to myself, I go in with this, and it had to happen before he born, you know. So that was, and I think that would push me, knowing that, hey, I'm going to have a son.
What was the conversation that we would have overheard? Like you were somewhere and a guy was asking you the prestigious
Prestige barber shop.
how that went?
I think I was lower down the road from where I work in there, and the guy was, what he liked, he knew that barber because he watched the t-shirt and stuff. And he asked me if I was the barber shop from across the road, from which part the shop was. I said no, I from high up the road him or the Prestige barber shop. So I was a laugh, because sometimes you don't know what people view you as out there, you know. So,
exactly. And going back to your point, you attract what you are, what you perceive your value to be. So in the community, there are a lot of men who could easily walk into your establishment. But still, when you look at their lifestyle compared still to the persons in the society, because you have gotten one or two clients from there based on what you portray, hence you attract that.
And everybody is more or less fitting with each other. It doesn't have anybody coming in there and, you know, offsetting the vibe, and, you know. So it is work out very nice. Like people, and I learned too, if the wrong type of people come into your business too, and they realize the chemistry or the energy in the shop, if they don't fit in, they will just leave, and the right people would stay. You know, because they wouldn't, the ones that you really don't want wouldn't stay. Because you don't want to tell anybody anything, they will not feel comfortable in the environment. If they're looking for the other type of barbershop that, you know, we could use obscene, we could watch what we want to watch, we could drink, and that they will find that. And
it's applicable to life in the sense as to sometimes you will hear certain persons share and say, well, a particular friend say that because you reach a certain level of success, that you change, and it's like, you don't want that person to be around you, and it's the total opposite. You could actually be, well, you're not the same. Obviously, some change has been made.
Yeah, you have to.
But because the level to where you are at, if it is that they know what to come in that environment and where they are at in their personal development or whatever it may be, if it is that they cannot match up to that, automatically they will feel uncomfortable and they will excuse themselves. So it's not about you switching up or you outrightly saying that I'm not going to offer my services to a certain type of client. Once they step into that atmosphere and they see what you are offering, they could know if they could fall in and fit in, or if they just have to move on.
And change is good in that aspect, because it's growth you're looking for. You want to be better than you was before. So if it is people seeing not changing, I mean, you kind of could be stagnant too.
You're stagnant, So even on that note, you mentioned your son, right? And I just want to touch back a bit on that, because eventually coming on here, we want to speak about men in society in our whole, and how men like yourself being providers, being young inspiration for younger men. You have younger barbers looking at your following, looking at what you do, because they actually want to model what you do. They want to model your success, right? So being a father, right? Fathering right now, and for you, I just said that unfortunately you were unable to actually, even if it was single parent wise, where like for me, how I grew up, sometimes with my mom, sometimes with my dad.
Yeah.
Just growing up with your dad, based on some of his principles, your parenting skills, how much of your dad do you see yourself portray sometimes when parenting? Yeah.
I'll say a lot, because he gave me a good foundation. I know he was old school, so he was really strict. And I mean, some of the things my kids might get with, my dad would not even allow that, you know, but we grew within, I still could see that, you know, they understand that they're doing a good job when it comes to discipline. Their mom doing a good job with discipline, you know. So as they get older, we had to get a little stricter and stuff because we had to guide them, you know. But I would say a lot was from him because he did a good job. He did a good job. So, you know, I could mirror that from him there and add to what it is, I think.
Yeah, you build on that.
Yeah.
And fascinating to another question I want to ask, because another mentor of mine, he was sharing. And it's, I mean, when he said it, if I were any different, I would have really felt like uncomfortable. I would have felt as if he was speaking down on me to away. But he put out the question and he asked, looking at, say, how we phrase it is like, okay, so you have your kids.
Right, yeah.
You have your kids, and then also you have your grandparents, you have your great-grandparents. So the level of success that you have and that your parents would have had, you now having your kids reflecting on that, are you comfortable? Now think about this, right? Based on the lifestyle and what your father would have provided, would you like to say that you would like your child to be inspired to grow up like that compared to the Bill Gates and when it comes to wealth and everything? Because you just said we're getting better moving forward.
Yeah, I want to go further, yeah.
So could you proudly say that you want your child to grow up to be like your great-great-grandparents based on the success road that they might have had?
I would say, I mean, we will take some principles from what they had, you know, and the upbringing, but we always want to do better. They did the best with what they had, but now we have to take that, add up on that, and give it to them. Not just only in value of physical things, but the knowledge we have to pass on to these children. You know, because if we just give them everything we didn't have and not give them the teachings that we didn't have, it would be gone to waste because they would just squander it. So we need to really pass on a lot of teachings, teach our children, be there with our children. Like, you know, I just try to spend as much time, almost all my free time, I just try to give to my kids. So, and I just enjoy that. So with me, I don't just want to give them things, I want to teach them things. So teach them things that they could teach their children and they would learn and they would go further with that. I want to make them, I have a son and a daughter, and I don't want my daughter to have no daddy issues, you know what I mean? I don't want my son to have no issues, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the damages I see in society and people started from their parents. You know what I mean? So it's either mommy didn't do this or daddy didn't do this, and we take that and then we get damaged more further in society. So I'm not trying to, I try to do as best as I could.
So even to that note, as you said, in regards to the multiple children that your parents had, was it like coming into a relationship, as I said, your mom had some kids, and beside you, your dad had some kids, right?
Had together as well.
So your brother and yourself are extremely close, and he played a very key positive role in you all. But like, generally, all the kids, how do you think he would have performed his role as a father? Like, can they all attest?
I would say, I would say if it's one thing, he was always a provider. He never not took care of any of his kids. He took care of those who wasn't even his kids.
Wow.
He did the best that he could have. He might not have always known. He might not have always known that, you know, the best things to do or stuff, but he did the best he could, and I could never one day, and I don't think any other children could one day say he wasn't this or he wasn't that.
He wasn't that.
Nah.
All right, and so I noticed you're speaking about him in the past tense.
Yes.
So
because he passed away in 2017.
2017.
Yeah, at 102.
102.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, all right. So unlike most, at least you know, like you have some mileage, some years to go well.
I hope it.
And even age-wise, too, you're speaking about this because it's very hard to tell on you in truth, you know.
Well,
you're disclosing it to
I don't mind. My age is 41.
41.
41, yeah.
Wow.
I don't mind, yeah.
Yeah, you could easily pass for 33, 30, like early 30s. So 41, so the 100 looking like a doable.
I have a brother who is 80s right now. No, this is what his 80s right now. They look like that too.
Yeah. So, PPP. Provider, protector, priest. Protector, provider, priest. Or some go priest, provider, protector.
Right.
When you hear those P's, whichever order, being a man first, because mind you, yes, be doing this with the efforts for Father's Day,
Yeah.
all right, bringing awareness to men, but being a provider, a protector, a priest, do you only see that role, or some men only take up that role when it is they become a dad, or you think it's something that across the bar from the time you see you would have put a ring on a lady's hand, or for some persons who are not married, they live in a home, like how you see that applying, like where would you like put some serious effort in actually being a provider when you're a dad, or just you and your wife married, or if you're just in a casual relationship, best being a man, being a provider, a protector, a priest, how you see that role?
Well, I mean, I guess it'll be different for different men, I guess, into their upbringing. But to me, once you engage in any relationship or marriage, you had to be a provider, you had to be a protector, you know. So I think we have to keep learning and knowing, because it's not like it's a clear-cut knowledge of what a man role is supposed to be, because some people never grow up seeing what a man's supposed to be too. So that's why we also have to keep learning and bettering ourselves, so that we can know how to deal with situations, you know, knowing how to teach your children how to be a good example, because you could tell your children what to do every day, you know, but unless you show them consistently that example, that's what they would learn.
But yet, in the 3 P's I mentioned, you said something interesting, because you only mentioned 2 of the P's. You said provider, protector.
Yes. And
so the priestly part, when it comes to actually being that Godhead in the home, like praying over the family.
Yes, that's really important.
And even what you just shared, not to cut you, but like kids actually, they do what they see, and not what you say.
Yes.
And I personally would like to think that just that priestly Godhead following up, we actually have a manual. They already have a manual as to where you could go, but well, the Bible, I would think, is actually the menu of what a man should be.
Correct.
And it's biblical, priestly all over it. So why you left out that P?
Well,
your dad.
I would say, with my dad, it's not like we grew up in church or anything like that. And I never had, I could probably count how much times I went to church as, you know, growing up.
Yeah.
You know? But he used to pray. So I see that with him. I learned that from him. And with my kids is concerned, because I wanted to change that, I started to do that with them. To the point where sometimes my daughter might be in bed and she would just take off her tablet and she would tell me, no, it's time to pray. And I just pray for my kids every day. They make me more spiritual, to be honest, you know. And as I always say, my kids came into my life and make me a whole lot better, and still are growing where that is concerned. So yes, with that aspect, I want to give them that. So they put me more into that as well too, from what I was lacking in those areas.
Understood. So moving forward now, understanding the P's, you'll be pushing P.
Definitely.
And the third one that was left out.
Well, it did, you know.
It did.
I just didn't get it yet.
It did, but
it did. But I'll get stronger with that one to be a better example for them too as well.
I've always looked up to you, and you're a very robust fella, even physically. And even for a lot of men, just as you're speaking, it's like a kind of a click. Like a masculine man. Do you think that you could be a masculine, hardcore man at the same time and also share some kind of emotion, like a softer side, and still be a strong, hard masculine man?
Yeah, I think it's possible. But I don't think all men might know how to do it too. But I think it's definitely possible, because I think we have so many different parts of us. We're very complex. So, you know, I think it's done.
All right.
Yeah.
So just touching on a little bit moving forward. So just generational wealth. You have your shop and everything now, right? Generational wealth in the sense as to you have your establishment now. Before you started here, you was with that guy for a while. Now you have your own. How easy do you think it would have been for you if it was like there was some inheritance or like something left back that your dad may have put in place, or did he put something in place so that when it is that you're actually starting these endeavors and your other siblings?
No, he didn't have much put in place at all, so I will start from scratch. But I would say the journey helped me a lot in terms of mindset. So even if I had the money, I don't know if it would have guaranteed success the way I'm looking at it. So I would say the journey kind of...
It would not have guaranteed it, I wouldn't say that, but still, based on the efforts and the strides that you'd have made to come
easier.
Right? So unfortunately for those who would have come into any kind of wealth, like a lot of them made the bad decisions. But still, being a dad and now understanding, having this entrepreneurial mindset and understanding
differently from my kids.
So for your kids, it's something that you will consider to be
top priority.
All right. So even in that light, hence reason why I would have reflected and asked you a question earlier. So speaking on wealth, do you think it would have helped? And you said that yes, you think it would have helped tremendously. All right. And then I would have asked you, do you think that it would have potentially changed the narrative? Change the narrative of how easily your transition to success would have been? And you said possibly yes.
Possibly, yeah.
And just briefly, like, what are some things that you think that you could actually do to make that initial change so that you could actually leave some kind of inheritance for your kids?
Well, one, I mean, this is what I'm doing right now to try and better myself, to try and raise my net worth as well, and also the teachings, the mindset, so that they could ensure not just waste it, but carry it on. They know the understanding of money, how to do things, you know. So that is really important. So that is what I'm trying to do. Definitely the money will be there for them, but I need to instill the mindset for them.
All right, and very soon I'll be talking to the insurance guy. So insurance is something as well you're looking into?
Already did, yeah.
Insurance, real estate?
Yeah, going into that in like soon, yeah. That's my target right now.
Good. And also you have the products, you have your merch and everything?
Yeah.
Well, Troy, I must say, you shared a lot. You came from a lot. You're an amazing dad. You just have to work on that last piece.
I'm working on it.
Being that priest. All right. So I appreciate you coming through, sitting down, taking the time. It was smooth. And I must say, it have a lot more that we could have touched on.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to another one.
Some more. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we didn't really get into the barbershop talk that we have on the seeds. Because even today we are speaking about some stuff, but definitely in the near future, it's something to look forward to. So you all could look forward to Lee Choy's information down below. I'll drop you the link to go to his Instagram page, likewise for his Facebook page. And also you have an amazing beard oil product.
Yes, Wolfpack.
Wolfpack.
Beard oil.
You have the merch as well.
Yeah.
Right, so we'll have all of that information in the bottom.
Soon, the store will be launching soon.
All right, guys, so there we have it. I sit down with Lee Choy. Thanks for tuning in. This is just another episode of Sweet Talk. Stay tuned for the others.
Yes, man.